The question of how and why the United Nations is the crux of the great conspiracy to destroy the sovereignty of the United States and the enslavement of the American people within a UN one-world dictatorship is a complete and unknown mystery to the vast majority of the American people. The reason for this unawareness of the frightening danger to our country and to the entire free world is simple. The masterminds behind this great conspiracy have absolute control of all of our mass communications media, especially television, the radio, the press, and Hollywood. We all know that our State Department, the Pentagon, and the White House have brazenly proclaimed that they have the right and the power to manage the news, to tell us not the truth, but what they want us to believe. They have seized that power on orders from their masters of the great conspiracy. And the objective is to brainwash the people into accepting the phony peace state, to transform the United States into an enslaved unit of the United Nations one world government.
You're listening to Black Helicopter Radio on the Antimatter Zone Radio Network. Now, here's your host, Ed Walker. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Black Helicopter Radio. My name's Ed Walker from the YouTube channel Dark Ecstasy World. It's been a while. I did one episode not too long ago. I guess that was around a month ago, called Transformation of a Nation, about things you could do to try to improve your health and therefore improve your life. It's a topic I never really delved into before. The episode tonight is called Black Helicopter Radio, Conspiritainment and Illuminati Fads, and it's about the fact that all this stuff that I've been researching, and probably most of you have been researching, and what the mainstream calls conspiracy theories. It's not my term, but people know what I'm talking about when I use that term. How we've been studying this stuff for years, and now it's getting more and more mainstream attention to a point it keeps growing. I mean, the amount of shows, the amount of music videos, and everything that you can imagine is just growing exponentially. So let me just read a quick description of it so I give you a better idea of what I'm going to be talking about in just 1 second. Okay, so here is the description of the show. Ed Walker goes into the idea of what are real dark agendas / conspiracies and what is simply conspiracy theory, or what Ed refers to as conspiritainment. Why are theories about the Masons, Illuminati, ancient aliens, the occult becoming so mainstream? Is it simply for entertainment, or is there a more sinister agenda at play? Are any of these ideas about the Illuminati really a threat to the corrupt establishment, or is it childish fairy tales? Ed will be working to flesh this out and get to the bottom of this odd trend of so-called conspiracy theories going mainstream. So that's what today's show is about. I think I'll delve into that in a second, but since I haven't done a show in such a long time, I do want to first start out just with some news items that, had I been doing a show regularly, things that I would have gone into, because I have more than enough time to flesh this out today. So I'm going to talk about a few things right before I get into the main topic of today's show. So the first thing that I want to bring up is this whole Iran war, and how it's just, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say for sure what's going to happen in the future, but it just seems more and more likely. It's not really a matter of if there will be a war with Iran, just a matter of when. And I think even, more mainstream analysts and most people would probably agree with that statement. That's not too far out there at all. There already is a covert war going against Iran involving the CIA and the Mossad. I made a video at my YouTube channel, Dark Ecstasy World, called War with Iran Has Begun. And I titled it that to get people's attention, but it actually is fairly accurate, because they're it's pretty clear there is a covert war going against Iran in regards to Iranian nuclear scientists being assassinated. Open talks here in the U.S. with presidential candidates like Newt Gingrich openly advocating that. I mean, just right in your face. And I'll also give out the call-out number. It's area code 347-327-9865. Area code 347-327-9865. So, like I already mentioned, the title of the show is Black Helicopter Radio, Conspiritainment, and Illuminati Fads, and I'm going to be talking about the fact that this stuff's getting so mainstream and popular. A lot of the topics we've talked about, that it really makes me kind of wonder, because I mean it's clear knowledge that the mainstream media, all the big corporate-owned media, is clearly it's not a reliable source of information. Basically, it's all propaganda. You can listen to some of the past shows I've done on Edward Bernays and propaganda. It's all public relations, manipulation, and lies, basically. So it's very strange when this information that used to be considered quite fringe and quite out there would now be getting more and more mainstream. So shows I'm talking about: are Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. I'm going to be talking about Ancient Aliens. I'm going to be talking about Brad Metzer's Decoded. And I'm going to be talking about just various different shows on the History Channel. All right, so the first show that I mentioned, or one of the first shows I mentioned, is Brad Meltzer's Decoded, which is a show, it's really a horrible show, to be honest. But the topics vary from things like, I'll just list off some of the episodes here. Like, there's one about the White House, and it talks about a mysterious White House cornerstone, which was laid by the Freemasons. It talks about secret presidential codes, and it talks about, let's see, also says Confederate gold. I'm just reading off the episodes now. They're not all completely conspiracy-oriented, but the majority of them are. It talks about D.B. Cooper. It talks about 2012. Talks about the president's inner circle. And it talks about, it talks about, the Georgia Guidestones. That's the one I really want to talk about. The Georgia Guidestones one was very strange, because that's something, if any of you don't know, you probably all know what that is by now, but if you don't, it's this big monument in Elberton, Georgia, which has these strange kind of occultic 10 Commandments, I guess you could call it. And it was written by a mysterious individual named R.C. Christian, which people believe is a reference to Rosicrucian, that kind of mystery school order that Bill Cooper talks about. And basically that show is very strange, because first off, they talk to some Rosicrucians in it, and then they spend time almost trying to spin the Georgia Guidestones as this kind of positive thing, and trying to make it seem like that it's so great that we should follow the Georgia Guidestones. It does kind of mince at the one Georgia Guidestone that says maintain the population under, I believe it's 500,000, if I'm not mistaken, or let's see, maintain 500 million. That's right. Yeah, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. It says guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity, unite humanity with a living new language, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason, protects people and nations with fair laws and just courts, let all nations rule, internally resolving, I'm just reading these off to you, so if you don't know what it is, what they advocate. Let all nations rule, internally resolving external disputes in a world court, avoid petty laws and useless officials, balance personal rights with social duties, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite, be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature. And so, yeah, it goes in all these, and it's really strange. It's almost like they're advocating it, which would make sense if the people who own the media are occultists. So that show, and then the 2012 thing's been mainstream for a long time now. But yeah, they do go into that with predictions from Nostradamus. There's one episode it's called the Secret Societies episode, which has Alex Jones in it, which is strange. I used to be I think like most of us, a lot of us were listeners to him back when we were first waking up. I've since kind of do my, listen to various other people, but anyways, yeah, he's in it, and he takes them to the Bohemian Grove, and it's just all these things that used to be, kind of you'd have to find them out on the internet or maybe in some obscure books. They're just putting it out there, and it's really strange. So let me go into the next show that I mentioned was Ancient Aliens, which is a little bit more new agey about UFOs, and that whole thing has it's basically like the book The Chariots of the Gods, which is a book that came out advocating this whole ancient astronauts theory, and that they helped us, build the pyramids and all these fantastic works that mankind has made. Okay, pretty much to sum up Ancient Aliens, all it does is it takes all of the kind of either religious or just mysterious things in the past, like the pyramids in Egypt, and then basically says, what if aliens did it? It's actually kind of silly if you think about it. That's pretty much sums up the whole show. If you've never seen it, that's all. They take anything from the Bible or other religious texts, but then in there's a lot of kind of new agey type ideas. And I believe, I don't know if it was this show, because I used to live with a roommate who would watch History Channel all the time, and I think I saw one where they mentioned the Georgia Guidestones in this show as well, and they spun it in a really, once again, in a real positive light. But I was listening to William Cooper a while back, and I was kind of blown away to hear him. He starts talking about these ufologists and even the ancient astronaut theory. And I want to play a clip for you guys. Listen to what this is, long before the show Ancient Aliens, but these theories were still around. They've been around for a long time. So here's Bill Cooper essentially exposing ancient aliens. Listen to this.
Now, all these pitiful little twits running around calling themselves ufologists, and Zachariah Sitchin, who has perverted the interpretation of the ancient writings, claims that this means that the Egyptians, whenever they drew these or put these hieroglyphics in their writings, were indicating that UFOs came from other planets. And nothing can be farther from the truth. But this is part of the Mystery Babylon deception, trying to convince the people of the earth that we are threatened by some other species from some other planet, so that they can more quickly bring about their new world order, their one world totalitarian socialist government. Don't fall for it, folks. I have found that most of these people involved with the so-called UFO research, who are trying to convince you of this, are Freemasons. Most of them 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite. And evidently they are attempting to do their best toward the furtherance of the great work in order to attain the 33rd degree, which can only be attained by meritorious work to bring about the completion of the great work, which is the destruction of the church, the state, and the enslavement of the mob, which is all of us. I hope you hear me out there.
All right, so yeah, that was Bill Cooper from the Hour of the Time, exposing the same people who are now pushing Ancient Aliens on the History Channel long before. I mean, if you think that issue is still fairly fringe now, well, I guess it's not really because of the show Ancient Aliens. But imagine back then that probably, I don't know, 1 in a million people would know what you're talking about. So it'd be such a small group of people would know anything about that back then, because there were some books, but I really can doubt there were any TV shows. I don't know if it is the most popular show, but I know it's definitely up there. One of the most popular shows on the History Channel. Personally, I know a lot of people who love the Ancient Aliens show, and it's sad to see people think they're getting truth from the mainstream media. I don't, they mix some truth in there, but then they just do that to gain your trust, and then they sell a bunch of lies along with it. So, and then let me talk. The next show I'm going to talk about is actually called Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura, and I'm not going to go into the same cliche thing saying I don't have any evidence that he's necessarily some sort of agent or working for them. I don't, and frankly, if I did have evidence, I would, but I just don't have that. So I'm not. There's no way for me to say if he is or isn't some kind of agent. But the show itself, the fact that it's on cable, I'm sure he doesn't have complete editorial control of it. Let's say even if Jesse Ventura was the real deal and a good guy, which I'm 50-50 on, I really don't have much evidence to back it up either way. I guess the only evidence against him being the real deal is the fact that they put him on cable television, and is the fact that they have a show, and it's one of the most popular shows. That's the only thing that would make me kind of skeptical. But anyways, it's basically Jesse Ventura. I'm sure probably most of you have seen it. If you're listening to this show, then it's pretty viral on the internet. And I'll say I watched a few episodes that were pretty entertaining, but there's also a lot of just kind of out there, kind of crap in there, especially in the Plum Island episode where it started talking about these supposed creatures that washed up on the sea, just real comic book, silly type of stuff. But anyways, his show they started out talking about HAARP, which is a popular theory on the internet, which people believe is behind weather control. 9/11, which I thought the 9/11 one was really weak. If you guys have seen it, you can watch most of it online. It went into some. Let's just say there's a lot more concrete evidence of 9/11 being an inside job than some of the things they went into that show. They talked about global warming. They talked about Big Brother. There's a secret societies one, which I thought was just awful. Then they did Manchurian Candidate, talking with some of these two guys who claimed to be part of it. And there's the Apocalypse 2012 one. There's one about Plum Island, which I already mentioned. So listen, these are all the typical things that you would find on YouTube or different alternative media websites. They talked about Area 51. They talked about Wall Street. I'll say this: the Wall Street one I thought was halfway. I thought they explained just the whole bailout, how big of a scam that was pretty well, actually, because it was, socializing losses of big banks. Basically, it'd be like if you're at a casino and you had the government to bail you out anytime you lost money. So I thought that was all right. There's a police state one, also with Alex Jones. It seems like he's getting more mainstream attention all the time, where they talked about fusion centers and they talked about, FEMA camps. I haven't seen. There's a few of these I haven't seen, but there's a Great Lakes one apparently. I have a list right here of the episodes. A Great Lakes one where they talk about people buying up water rights around the world, and let's see. And then there was Spear of Death. Okay, apparently, I think some of these actually haven't been done yet. 'Cause, I think these are some of the upcoming episodes. So anyways, they're doing a new. I'm just trying to give you, if you haven't seen the show, just a summary of what it is. And so now that I've gone through, there's one more thing I'll mention, because right now I'm just listing off some of the mainstream things that are out there that are pushing these ideas. So one other thing, there's a documentary on the History Channel. This is just one of many, but I'm just using this one as an example. It's called Secret History of the Freemasons, and it's about, like the name implies, it's about just the history of the Freemasons, except there's nothing really secret that they talk about clearly. And it's the majority of it is a bunch of Masons saying, kind of trying to downplay any of the more sinister theories of Masonry and the more sinister ideas. They even go into Albert Pike, which he talked about openly, that the god of the Freemasons was Lucifer. And I wish I remembered exactly. It's been a while since I saw it, but I don't know how they tried to get around that one or how they tried to spin it. I think they basically said, oh, well, people took that one out of context when the whole quote, you can see it, right there. You can look up the book. morals and dogma online, and I mean he's clearly saying that they worship Lucifer. So it's actually kind of hilarious to try to see them squirm their way out of that one. So that one to me was a basic propaganda piece in favor of Freemasonry, but they tried to make it seem like what you were watching was, you know, kind of some hidden information and like, ooh, you know, this is special, we're exposing the Freemasons. So I don't know, that one. And this is just one documentary. There's tons of these on there. I haven't seen all of them. I don't know all of them, but I've looked them up. You can watch most of them on YouTube, and it's just insane. So now that I've mentioned some of the mainstream documentaries and TV shows that are just getting bigger and bigger, like Conspiracy Theory, Brad Meltzer's Decoded, Ancient Aliens, and various documentaries, let me go into some reasons as to why I think this is happening, since I haven't really gone into that yet. But here I'm looking at this from every angle I could think of, including the less conspiratorial, you know, just as far as the ratings, to the more agenda-driven, you know, of having some sort of purpose to spread disinformation or whatnot. So the first one would be the least conspiratorial. Would just be that maybe it's simply a market that they're trying to capture. And real quick, let me just interject before I list off all of the possibilities of the conspiracy info going mainstream. These are just ideas. I'm not saying I necessarily believe this is the reason why, or it isn't the reason why. So let me just wanted to say that. So these are just possibilities of what it is. Anyways, so maybe it's simply a market that they're trying to capture. Conspiracy is definitely big on the internet, so they try to put it on TV. Because after all, a person like me wouldn't have any interest in their shows, but when they have documentaries on the Masons and things like that, I'm more likely to check it out when I would literally have no interest whatsoever in the vast majority of what's on TV. But so that would be the more mainstream, you know, money people who think, oh, they're just doing it to make money. Like I said, I don't necessarily believe that's the reason why, but that is one possibility. The next one would be controlled opposition, which I think holds more water than a lot of the other theories. Controlled opposition would be, or another term is disinformation, so that they basically put some truth out there to gain your trust and interest, but then they sell you on the live. But, you know, they got you to watch it in the first place by baiting you in with just a small amount of truth. Okay, the next one, I actually thought maybe this was the case for a while. I've since changed my mind on it. But when I first saw them talking about all these things, and it's like, wow, this is stuff I used to be, you know, I was into and I would talk about on Black Helicopter Radio. So the next idea is maybe a lot of this underground conspiracy info is just bogus and it is no real threat to the powers that be, meaning that a lot of things I believe were just false. And the reason I thought this could be a possibility is because, after all, the media is the voice of the establishment, so why would they expose themselves? It dawned on me one time I was watching it, and that was my first impression. But I think that could be true in some ways. I mean, because they get into some things that are a little, even for my taste, a little bit fishy to necessarily believe in. But for the most part, I mean, I think it just depends on what kind of information you're talking about. There is some information out there that they clearly won't talk about and things that they won't put on TV because it could be possibly, you know, challenging to the establishment. Then there's things on there that maybe aren't a direct threat to the establishment, but then they can still spin it or whatnot and try to, you know, turn it around. So let me go into the next issue would be they have to talk about all these issues because, like I mentioned earlier, they've gotten so big that they have to try to stay relevant. And that to me seems I don't think it's that likely, because if they know the truth, if they started giving people real hardcore truth, their ratings would go off the wall. So they clearly are holding back. I mean, they're not telling people everything. If it was just purely for profit and ratings, you know, they have study groups. They know what people are into. If they had just a show of just nonstop, if they just laid everything out, think of how, if they laid out actual secrets, for example, of the Freemasons, and not things that are already in open source books and whatnot, think of how huge that would be. So I don't really believe that. I think they have to put maybe it's partially true that they have to put enough information out in the mainstream media to try to get people to even tune in at all, so maybe people don't completely shut them out, so they'll put a little bit of truth in there just to stay relevant. Because after all, if no one's watching, then they completely lose their power. So, and let me go into the next one. So, I haven't really gone into music videos and some of the other, like Madonna's Super Bowl ritual, but the next one is, I wrote, is all the Masonic/Illuminati symbolism in pop culture really sinister, or is it simply a PR stunt to stir up controversy? And because, okay, for a while I would be researching this, and I'd be blown away by all the, all the music videos and things, and that they had the checkerboard floor. They had all this occult and blatant Illuminati symbolism and Bohemian Grove icons and pentagrams and all this stuff. And the perfect example would be Lady Gaga. One of my earliest videos I did was exposing a lot of the symbolism and things in her video Alejandro, which is full of kind of Luciferian, Masonic, it's overwhelmingly full. It is absolutely like it reminds me, the whole video reminds me of that scene in Clockwork Orange when the guy has his eyes peeled open and they're playing, I believe, Beethoven, and they're trying to brainwash him. It just has a very surreal feel to it. But so anyways, I was getting kind of overwhelmed. I thought, like, man, this is nuts. They're showing all this in the mainstream media, and I thought it was this real sinister thing, like they're really trying to brainwash people and bring people into the one world religion and all this stuff. And I still think that's a possibility, but then to me it seems like it's at a point where all this Illuminati stuff, rappers talk about it a lot. They talk about the Masons a lot, Jay-Z. There's countless music videos now. I cannot keep track of all of them at all. It seems like a genuine trend at this point. Like people think it's cool to have the all-seeing eye and pyramids and all these symbols in their videos. So I got kind of desensitized to it. I'm like, I don't know if this is really, occultists trying to get their message out in the media, or if this is genuinely just a kind of stupid trend right now. Because, like I said, the internet has gotten more popular on the all this stuff's gotten more popular on the internet, so they're just translating it to the mainstream music. So anyways, those are the 5 ideas. If anyone wants to call in, sorry about the technical difficulties earlier, but if anyone has any ideas of why all this conspiracy info is going more mainstream, the guest call-in number is area code 347-327-9865. Area code 347-327-9865. And since I haven't done the show in a while, I am going to talk about some of the instances of these Illuminati symbolism being used in the mainstream. So one of the biggest ones, probably a lot of you know about this. I'm sure most of you do. It was kind of a big deal. But was the Whitney Houston and 2012 Grammy Award ritual, which some female rapper she's awful. I cannot stand listening to her. I never knew who she was until this happened, and I kind of wish I still didn't know who she was. Her name is I believe Nicki Minaj, and it was this big thing. You guys can watch the clip on YouTube. It's kind of like this Catholic, mockery of the Catholic Church type deal, and which is strange because a lot of people say the Vatican rules the world, but we have them. The mainstream media trashes the Catholic Church all the time, and I'm not supporting the Catholics or the Vatican or the Pope or anything like that. It's just I find that kind of ironic that if they really controlled our media, that some Vatican conspiracy that they're blatantly bashing the Catholic Church and all that in the mainstream. So, anyways, here's an article from Vigilant Citizen that spells it out pretty good. That's a great website, by the way. That VigilantCitizen.com that talks about a lot of the symbolism and all these occult symbols in the mainstream media. And I'd like to talk to the person who runs that website, because sometimes I think in their articles, they're starting to kind of question if this is really legitimate or if this is a just a PR stunt to try to stir up controversy. I mean, if you think about it, the easiest way to stir up controversy is what's one of the few things that is left to really kind of stir people up. I mean, everything, we've been desensitized so much to violence, to sex, to drugs, but still there is some people are still into religion. So if they go around bashing religion, could this simply just be a PR stunt, or is it really, as some people say, a satanic ritual? So let me just read this first paragraph just to give you an idea. A vigilant citizen, he believes it is a mega ritual. It says the 2012 Grammy Awards took place in a horrible context, the wake of the sudden mysterious death of Whitney Houston. The show went on nevertheless, but not without a great deal of strange symbols and events that made one thing very clear. There is a definite dark side to the entertainment business. We will look at the facts surrounding Whitney Houston's death, the symbolic elements of the 2012 Grammy Awards. So he ties it in with the whole actual event of Whitney Houston dying, which there is some weird elements to that, but I'm more interested just in the actual so-called ritual. So when Nicki Minaj actually entered into the Grammys, she came in looking with some weird, creepy-looking Pope-type guy and wearing this big red velvet dress and this. So the whole thing was pretty darn occultic just in what they're doing. So the song was called "The Roman Holiday," and the chorus of the actual song. Listen to this. This is pretty strange. Oh, sorry, but before I say that, apparently there's some demon who is Nicki Minaj's alter ego. I guess she's actually talked about this before in interviews, and who knows if she really believes that or if, once again, it's just a PR stunt to get attention. But okay, let me go back to the chorus. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think her alter ego's name is Roman, and it's some demon that she's basically in this ritual they're trying to exorcise. So here it is. Take your medication, Roman. Take a short vacation, Roman. You'll be okay. You need to know your station, Roman. Some alterations on your clothes and your brain. Take a little break from your silencing. There is so much you can take. I know how bad you need a Roman holiday. So the symbolism, it's really bizarre if you guys haven't seen it. I mean, it is pretty dark looking, I'll give them that. It's definitely, I mean, there's people in all these cloaks and robes and fire, and the Christian Mass eventually turns into this fiery black magic ritual. And it just, I mean, the fact that this is what people are into just shows how far America's gone down the drain. Let's take away all the sensational Illuminati symbolism and all the occult conspiracy. Let's just take it at face value what it is. People watching, satanic rituals on one of the biggest shows on TV, the Grammys, and this is entertainment, and it's considered cool and edgy and hip. I mean, it's kind of sad that this is what people are into. So, anyways, like I said, if you haven't seen that clip, check it out. So it comes down to if you believe that it is an actual Illuminati ritual, or if it's simply just some stupid PR stunt. Or sometimes the answer might simply just be in between. There are a lot of people into the Kabbalah and other occult arts in Hollywood. That's an absolute fact. So, they could just be using some things they've known from reading their occult literature and their occult practices and then implementing it into some sort of strange ritual as a way to not only pay homage to their dark religions, but also to, stir up controversy. So it's kind of a double whammy for them. Another news item that came out that I haven't talked about since I've been back on the radio was Lady Gaga was accused of performing a satanic ritual in a hotel room. And to me, I think Lady Gaga is genuinely an occultist. I don't think that's just PR. I think she is into some real dark stuff. I mean, she's had interviews where she talks about how she dreams about performing in Illuminati rituals and whatnot. So listen to this if you guys haven't heard about this. According to the staff at London's Intercontinental Hotel, Lady Gaga left her room's bath filled with blood. Her room's housekeeper stated that Gaga was, quote, bathing in blood as part of a satanic ritual, end quote. Is this true, false, or maybe a publicity stunt? Not sure, but in the light of previous articles, not impossible. Here's an article and then this is the Independent. So, Lady Gaga allegedly left large amounts of blood in the hotel bath. The eccentric singer reportedly shocked staff when she checked out of London's lavish Intercontinental Hotel last summer, and they discovered a pool of red liquid in the tube of her suite. One housekeeper claimed the pop star was bathing in blood as part of a satanic ritual. And this housekeeper told the website Truthquake, they said Lady Gaga left large amounts of blood in the suite during a stay this summer. The incident was reported to the concierge, who was told to put it out of her mind. So, I mean, this is like I said, it's no conspiracy theory that Hollywood's not run by some of the nastiest, most satanic, people who participate in these satanic religions. I mean, they're clearly, that's well known. Not just Hollywood, but I mean the entertainment industry. I mean, Led Zeppelin was obsessed with Aleister Crowley, and I believe it was Jimmy Page, the guitarist, too. It was him or one of the other members who bought one of Aleister Crowley's estates. Aleister Crowley, the Beast, 666, and yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. So, and as far as the media being ran by dark occultists, that's what I think is disturbing when you watch some of the Ancient Aliens and they start actually advocating the ideas of a lot of these Masonic ideas, a lot of these more kind of dark New Age ideas. And I'm not going to get into bashing, all New Agers, but there definitely is a breed of New Agers who are into the New World Order agenda. So it's really bizarre when you see them spin something as dark and as absolutely hellish and evil as the Georgia Guidestones in a positive light. And that's what I think, that's what it comes down to, is this information is getting out there. So it's, what are they going to do about it? They're masters of manipulation and propaganda. They're going to spin it around to make it help them instead of hurt them. So yeah, it's all quite bizarre. The Masons one, I would really highly recommend you guys watch that. Just watch it with a skeptical mind. It is like seeing an infomercial for Freemasonry on the History Channel. If you want to find it, it's called Secret History of the Freemasons, and it has a bunch of high-level Masons and other people in there discussing how good Freemasonry is. They start listing off all of the famous people as far as founding fathers who are Masons. They try to downplay any of the conspiratorial ideas of it, even though, I mean, it's a fact that we've had countless people who, in high levels of power, who are Freemasons. That's why I don't dismiss. There's some people out there that say, "Oh, you're a kook if you talk about Freemasons." Okay, so talking about Roosevelt and all these different presidents and foreign elites. I believe even Stalin and Churchill were Freemasons. I mean, think about that. That's nuts. At the same time, we had Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt, all Freemasons from supposed, different countries, and then after World War II, even enemies with each other, but yet they're part of the same little club. So that's why studying the history of Freemasonry and whatnot is important. See, that's the next topic I want to talk about, is conspiritainment versus conspiracy reality, because there are real things going on out there. I mean, there's real hardcore, nasty, evil stuff, which is conspiracy reality. All a conspiracy is two or more people working together in secret to commit evil or criminal acts against, the broader, against another group of people. So, I mean, there's real stuff out there. It's after doing Black Helicopter Radio for a while and really digging deep, I mean, I can tell you without a doubt that it's not, the term conspiracy theory is really insulting it, because lately I've been trying to stay away from the word conspiracy altogether and use the word agenda. There's real dark agendas going out there. There's the pharmaceutical agenda, where they're trying to get everyone on their mind control drugs. I might be doing a show or maybe a YouTube video at my YouTube channel, Dark Ecstasy World, on that, because there's been a lot more coming out about that. They're talking about drugs that can make you not racist, So they're trying to create this new world order where everyone is so controllable and just so mind-numb from drugs. So see, that's a real agenda. I mean, that's not conspiritainment. That's a real hardcore, evil conspiracy. There's the health conspiracy going on right now, where they're trying to destroy people's health to keep them sick, and then the medical industrial complex to keep them addicted to it. This goes back to the big pharma agenda. I mean, that's another real dark agenda. There's the war agenda. Okay, so you can be called a conspiracy theorist if you think people are conspiring to start a war. Think about how absurd that is. That's real hardcore, real nasty, dangerous, evil stuff. So, and then there's ideas which are conspiritainment, okay, which things that people spend a lot of time on and talk a lot about, but sometimes I think it's just chasing ghosts. And I've been trying to, stay away from that more conspiritainment and try to just mainly focus on the real stuff out there. And what do I mean by conspiritainment? Well, to be honest, things that I used to be into, so I'm not trying to bash anyone if they're into this, but things that don't really lead anywhere, things like UFOs. I mean, we still are pretty much stuck on the UFO topic. That's why you guys haven't heard me talk about it in such a long time. I mean, basically what it all comes down to is we don't know. So, sure, if something came out that revealed it, that'd be a big deal, but for right now, it's just, to me, that's conspiratainment. You're not going to, the information's not going to do anything to either help you stay away from the conspiracy to try to get out of the system. There's even some things where, people get into some real out there stuff like, reptoids and reptilians. And, sometimes I could see why people think that the conspirators are not human. I mean, they sure as heck act demonic, and they sure seem to hate the human race. So anyways, I'm just trying to differentiate. That's why I think the mainstream media is more than willing to cover the conspiratainment, which is something that's, is literally they're not afraid at all that, that it'll hurt them or bring them down or truly expose them. So that's why they'll have shows like Conspiracy Theory or Ancient Aliens or Brad Meltzer's Decoded. So that's what I'm talking about, conspiratainment. Then you can go down the rabbit hole of the real stuff out there, studying the military-industrial complex, studying propaganda, studying their whole banking fraud, the whole plan of just making us total debt slaves. So far, I've yet to see a mainstream documentary go into some of that stuff, or talking about, different lobbying groups like AIPAC, the American-Israeli lobbying group, which I'm not going to go into either being, totally blindly supporting Israel or bashing them. All I'm saying is to have a foreign lobbying our U.S. politicians to go to war on their behalf in regards to pretty much most of the wars in the Middle East. Could you imagine a conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura episode where they openly discuss AIPAC and foreign lobbies and lobbies for foreign nations trying to lead us to war? See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff that if they don't talk about it in the mainstream media, that automatically tells you that there's some truth behind it. And that can take you down some roads that are not politically correct, like what I just said. Some of you listening right now might be thinking, oh God, Ed is some vicious anti-Semite. He's going after the Israeli lobby. Because, that's truly being anti-establishment. So, basically all I'm trying to say here is I've really just been going down some rabbit holes which are a lot more hardcore, hold a lot more weight to them as far as being truly anti-establishment. Being anti-war, for example. War is the health of a state. That's a famous quote. To be anti-war is to be against the New World Order. So, anyways, I don't know. Sorry, I just got distracted by someone in the chat room. I hope you all can hear me. Someone says they have to keep refreshing, and then they can hear me, so it might be their computer problem. If this is a continual problem with Blog Talk Radio, I want all of you right now. I'm going to get more active in my YouTube channel, so please check out youtube.com/darkecstasyworld and add me on there, because this is one of the reasons I kind of stopped doing Blog Talk, because it's just not reliable. But let me get back to my point. I'm just assuming people can hear me. I really don't know at this point. But going into being against the establishment is being, anti-war, is being against all these scams and the big pharma and things that are really affecting your life, Because let's face it, let's say you went on TV and you started ranting about Illuminati, Jesuit, Reptoid, Mason, Mormons or something, that they're going to laugh at you and say you're crazy. But if you went on the mainstream media and started talking about lobbying groups lobbying us to start World War III or especially the big pharma agenda, if you went on there, that's one thing that they really don't like. They don't report on because they are funded by the pharmaceutical cartel. I mean, that's a real deal out there. So that's pretty much the point I'm trying to get to is and you know what, I'm not saying I'm the ultimate judge and to decide what's really valid and what's not. I'm just saying, you got to be really skeptical and try to not, if you're a real truth seeker, not try to waste your time with there's just a lot of crap out there. And a lot of that crap now is spilling over to the mainstream TV, and they're doing it to try to dilute the real message of the truth movement, which, ideally the truth movement in its pristine state is truly anti-establishment, is truly open-minded, is truly seeking truth no matter where it leads and no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how politically incorrect. Because, let's say, anything politically correct is, who decides that? The social engineers, the people who, in the media, the political establishment and academia, they decide what's politically incorrect. And if I believe and I have evidence to back up that their ideas are truly dark, evil, manipulative, disgusting, then my ideas would be considered politically incorrect to them, and I'd be very proud. I'd be proud to be considered politically incorrect. Or another thing is, if you're not considered, I've been accused of being a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, nut job, fringe. Okay, well, if to be mainstream is to be holding the same ideas that you're taught to be. That you're being taught by the establishment to hold. I'm very proud of being fringe. I'm very proud of being not in the mainstream. In fact, I want to stay away from that as far as possible. If being fringe is thinking for yourself, trying to be as healthy as possible, not taking their addictive mind-control drugs, if not buying the mainstream propaganda, if not just, watching the Super Bowl and drool and stare at the TV set as my life just goes away without actually doing anything in my life to try to make the world a better place. If that's considered fringe, and I'm fringe, I'm a fringe tinfoil hat wearing freak and proud of it, So, this is just a show I've been wanting to do for a while. I've noticed this trend, I don't know, at least a year or two now, because when I first got into it many years ago, I've been into it since. I first got my first David Icke book, I believe, in 2002, 2003. It was called Children of the Matrix. Is a book that came out actually just a few years before 9/11. So man, I could even see, and that was kind of right before it started to get bigger on the internet and everything. So I kind of was right at that tipping point where conspiracy information was so fringe and so underground and so, just not respected by people. To now I could see the transition to where you have people like David Icke and Alex Jones and all these people, having the big names, kind of, whatever you want to call them, the big truth movement names, on, mainstream TV and Jesse Ventura. And it really makes me think that, those people have got to be holding back on some real information, because otherwise they would not be allowed on the mainstream television networks, And either they knowingly are doing that, or, if they're working for them, that's a whole different show. But I'm just saying, it's just to know the mainstream media is corrupt, and then to have people then have the mainstream media basically spouting a lot of the popular ideas and the truth movement is pretty disturbing. So anyways, when I first started, I wanted to make sure I get this in the broadcast. I started going into news, but it's when my voice started to cut out. So Let me just say this is an article you guys can listen to. This is pretty mind blowing if you ask me. To them openly say, to talk about the whole problem, reaction, solution idea to try to get us into war with Iran. This is it. The headline is Pentagon predicts Israel will drag U.S. into war with Iran. And in I'll just read the first paragraph once again because I need to get this in the broadcast. Classified war games conducted by the Pentagon have sketched a scenario in which an attack by Israel on Iran's suspected nuclear facilities will lead to Tehran launching a counterstrike against a U.S. ship in the Gulf. That in turn would drag a reluctant U.S. into a fresh war in the Middle East. And here's the sad part. If this were to happen, if Israel were to attack them and then we got attacked by Iran, you could guarantee that the American people would just start waving their flags, chanting USA, USA, let's go to war with Iran. It just never ceases to work. And this is why the Illuminati hold us in such contempt, because they think we're just the most dumbed down, brainwashed cattle, that they can use the same protocol every time to try to get us to go into war, and it works flawlessly. So, I got a call on the line. Let me unmute you here, and you are live on the air.
I'm speaking to Ed Walker of Black Helicopter Radio, calling from deep underground.
Are you in one of those underground bunkers hiding out?
Me and George Norrie, we're hiding out. Well, hello, Ed.
How's it going, Bob?
It is I, your nemesis, Bob from Cincinnati.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. I guess I had some technical difficulties earlier, but people are saying they can hear me clear now, so that's good.
Oh, that's great. Yes, sir. We appreciate you coming on and taking care of it. My Skype connection is very poor, so I probably won't be here too long. But I want to thank you for stepping on to the new antimatter broadcasting and christening the maiden voyage of another powerful season opener of Black Helicopter Radio. I want to thank you, Ed.
Yeah, no, thanks for starting up the new channel and everything. The archives are still at, give the URL. It's Antimatter Zone, right? blogtalkradio.com/antimatterzone.
That is absolutely correct, and that we can keep all the old archives will still be there. They will stay up, but this is the new ship, and she broke out of the chamber a little rough, but now she's running smoothly. And I thank you, sir.
Yeah, and go ahead and promote your upcoming show with Hive Mind.
Oh, yes, that's right. So Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will have an excellent guest, our mutual friend and conspiracy cohort, Hive Mind 1984, as we will discuss chemtrail UFOs and the dark agenda, to be sure. So that is this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Antimatter Broadcasting station here at blogtalkradio.com. So Antimatter Broadcasting this Friday, Hive Mind Chemtrail UFOs. I think it'll be a great show, Ed. I know Hive Mind's got a lot of information, and he's been working on a lot of video of strange craft. So this isn't a guy that just talks the talk. This is the guy, as you know, who walks the walk. His work, he has the footage of these strange vehicles, and if they are vehicles at all, who knows? I really don't know what to think sometimes, what I'm seeing in the sky, especially around chemtrails. I had my first ever UFO sighting when I was working with you and Jeff back in August of 2010 on the highway. I saw a strange vehicle that disappeared before my eyes, and it had no wings, and it was quite a strange little craft. And one would say, well, that's a game changer. I don't know. It just kind of confirmed to me what I already knew through the research that we've done, which is basically we have no clue of the reality we're living in, right? It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mentioned UFOs earlier, and I wasn't bashing that field of research, but to me it's just like, it's so out there. It's like I have no idea what to think of them. But if you don't, I'm going to ask you a question real quick, Bob. I haven't asked your opinion on this yet, so I want to hear what you have to say about the topic of my show. What do you think of all, because you've been researching this stuff for a lot longer than most, well, a lot longer than I have, and probably a lot longer than a lot of people have. What do you think about seeing the transition of this conspiracy info going from absolutely fringe, crackpot, only crackpots and supposed crazy people are into it, to going more mainstream and all on the History Channel and such.
It is curious, is it not, here at the 11th hour, or excuse me, 5 past midnight again, it's late in the game, that all of a sudden, yes, my take on it, Ed, to be truthful, is they're attempting to neutralize any coordinated opposition in thought. And remember, this is conspiracy, and the conspiracy reality can capture the imagination very quickly, because as we were just confirming a moment ago, we live in a strange little gilded box, and we have no idea of the technology and the reality that we're actually living in. We are crazy rats in a cage, so to speak. And when the veil drops and you see what's going on around you, and that's the true reality, it is a bit of a game changer. So my point is that before more people realize that, before they don't want people to realize the game, so to speak, and for some reason their game's falling apart here. Is it the strange movement of the planet, the pole shift thing, or is it the sunspot thing that are we moving into? I know that the Piscean age, and this is from your work, the Theosophists and all the secret societies were hip to make sure that they followed the stars and the planets, and for some reason in the astrological thing, not for some reason, just the turning of the heavens, the Piscean age is ending and the Aquarian age is beginning, which is, of course, all that theosophy happiness. The end of the Piscean, the beginning of the water bearer age, and we will have such a wonderful Maitreyan enlightening. Oh, Maitreya, come and help us. Oh, we are so excited to be guided by you. Blah 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 blah. Okay, the light bringers once again. Oh, come, O great Savior, and bring the light, so that we will see. But as we were speaking, I believe off air earlier, their world, even though they profess it is a world of happiness, a new utopia, and a new Atlantis is coming about for them. In reality, it is a dark socialist prison that they're creating, because that is the true goal of their dark great work. Where on the light end, or the true light end, I should say, you've got it. One has to dissociate or separate the two kinds of light. There's a false dark light, which is their form of Luciferian, enlightenment, and the true light, which I guess human beings, we all, I believe that's just me though. Light is important to us. It means something to us. It's positive. So when they take the light from us and turn it dark, remember, Satanism is all about inversion, turning everything good on its head to negative. So why not steal the light from us, okay, and turn it into their, Luciferian delight, whatever they want it to be. And so swinging around, and thank you for entertaining my tangent here, which is basically they're trying to steal our thunder before the masses get a hold of the information that is just pouring out of the sources. They can't keep the lid on reality anymore. It's too late in the game for that. And they're doing everything, including hijacking conspiracy theory as conspiritainment now, to corrupt the thought process of the waking minds of men and women. It's nothing more simple than that, or more eloquent than that, I should say.
Yeah, no, that spells it out pretty well, because if you haven't yet, you should really check out the that Decoded episode that I mentioned about, the Georgia Guidestones, which are extremely dark, and it's bizarre. They try to, I was like speechless when I was watching it. They say, oh, well, yeah, it does talk about, killing off 90% of the Earth's population, but, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe this would be good to have, or maybe this is just after the apocalypse, and these are just the rules to live by. So they know the information is getting out there, so it basically comes down to how they can spin it. It's really bizarre. I implore anyone, and I'm not trying to promote their show, don't don't watch TV. I'm saying just go on YouTube, search. It's apparently called Apocalypse in Georgia, and try to watch that because it really shows you who runs the media, and they are a bunch of dark occultists. Do you agree, Bob?
Oh, there are dark occultists running the show. I agree with that 100%. Now, there is an interesting fellow out in the conspiracy world that goes by the name of Freighter X. I don't know if you've ever heard of Freighter X.
I have not.
Well, Freighter X has his own radio show, and I believe he's moving to a new show that'll be called The Middle Path. And the reason I bring Freighter X up is that he was on another conspiracy show. You might have heard of this one. It's a young guy down in New Zealand does his own comedy conspiracy show. It's not comedical. Actually, the topics are very important. He does a great show. He tries to put a lighter spin on it. But his name is Vinny Eastwood. You ever heard of Crazy Vinny down there?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. But Freighter X was on Vinny Eastwood's show about a month ago, or earlier this month, actually. I apologize, the beginning of March. And Freighter X, whom I've spoken to through the chat before, and he had nice things to say about the work that I've put out on the radio before. So I don't. My intent is not to pound Freighter X without giving him a chance of defending himself. But he proposed a most curious theory or philosophy on Vinny's show. Now, remember, his name is Freighter X. He is the member. He boasts that he is the initiate of over 13 or 14 different secret societies or orders. Not all of them secret, but the term secret society fits because they don't want their proceedings known, so they are secret societies. At any rate, he proved his through YouTube videos, he proved his documentation that he indeed had been initiated into many of these orders. Rosicrucianism, I can't think of all of them. Knights of, I don't want to say Knights of Malta. I don't think that's it. He's a knight of something. I'm sure a knight of a couple of different orders. At any rate, the point is that Freighter X proposed on Vinny's show that it is through the darkness of Scottish Rite Freemasonry that has taken over all Masonry that therein lies the problem, that it's just Scottish Rite Freemasonry. But the other Masonry organizations, they're sort of like the overwhelmed, I hate to say it, good guys. They're the guys who, if we could only just shake off this Scottish Rite, we would be good Masons again. And I just didn't buy it. And Freighter, if you hear me, I do apologize. I would like to give you a chance to respond. So I'm putting an open invite to you to come on Antimatter Broadcasting and defend yourself. But I would want you to flesh that out, my good sir. I would really like you to explain that position, that it's only through the darkness of Scottish Rite. Now, I'll put this out there too. And am I taking up too much time on this, Ed?
No, I'm talking. No, okay, go ahead. This is really interesting.
Okay, I appreciate it, and for some reason, it's really come into my psyche all of a sudden because I've been stewing on this a little bit. The position that Scottish Rite Freemasonry is the problem because they can't get away from the writings, as you know, Ed, of one General Albert Pike. And those are the writings of this dark Luciferianism. That's where all this term comes from. This is the guy who really put it out there, okay? Now, if you just want to see it in the intellectual, because if you get into the mysteries, that just means the light of knowledge. But it's the light that was given to Adam and Eve in the garden, okay? Remember their take that the dark force is the one that is liberating man. Ooh, the terrible God of the Old Testament kept you little darlings, Adam and Eve, hidden from true knowledge. I will bring knowledge to you. So I am the good knowledge bearer. Okay, that's their take. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, most of us, where the darkest force of the universe is the protagonist, most of us kind of pull away from that. Now, I hate to say there is a resurgence because of such exposition of the mysteries at this late hour about this story. But the problem is that you have people like General Albert Pike who wrote the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemasonry rituals. Okay, he wasn't just a 33rd degree Mason. This is the guy who wrote the textbook on and the secret textbooks on the rituals of 33rd degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite. Okay, so the point of all this is, even with Frater X involved, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think, Frater X, I'm calling you out on this because I think what it is, it's a clever ploy of dissociating Masonry from dark Freemasonry. Okay, and I'm not gonna. I won't stand for it. I won't stand for it, good sir, my dear sir. I won't stand for it. Masonry and the secret societies are one and the same. Scottish Rite, York Rite, all of it. All right? You're going to have to do a lot of tap dancing, good sir. And I mean that in all sporting fairness. I like Frater X. I enjoy his work, but I highly disagree with this very dangerous theory of dissociating Scottish Rite Freemasonry from the rest of the secret societies, including Freemasonry. I think it's outrageous, and I apologize, Ed, for taking so much time, but this is something that has been stewing since I heard this on March the 7th on the Vinnie Eastwood Show, and I thank you, sir, for letting me stand against dissociating any form of secret society and orders and Freemasonry from the whole. They are all corrupted, I believe, Ed. They're all corrupted at this late hour, and we must be on guard for their teachings and their writings. Now, I'm not talking about the esoteric, the ancient school of it. A lot of that has been corrupted, all right? But we'll have to read through the materials on that. I'm talking about modern Freemasonry. You can't break it apart like that and say, oh, these are the dark guys, and these are the good guys, and these are the guys that are in the middle. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Too many blood oath rituals, too many secrets laid in the middle of the night, too many rituals on the checkerboard floor, my friends, to separate what's good and what's bad. Thank you, Ed, for letting me speak that. Ed, are you still there, sir? I don't hear my good friend Ed, so I am going to speak for a few moments. I've got some good friends in the chat. There's all kinds of good friends in here. We've got Amy Kim. We've got JM Dewey 60 and my good old friend Robin C. It is so good to hear you. So it is good to see you in the chat room. I thought you dropped out of the universe. I had asked, and I'd seen, and there she is. And a good friend of ours is not here tonight, which is BB, non-compliant BB. And I'm missing BB tonight, too. So it's good to see old friends in the chat. And my good friend down there, always a pleasure. And I caught your show earlier tonight, John. Believe it or not, even though I don't pop up in your chat room, I'm usually that guest you see hovering in the wings. So, but Ed, I'm getting a Skype from Ed, or I'm getting a message from Ed. But it's something Ed's kind of cut off there. So, and I apologize. So we most likely will be wrapping up this show early. The problem is, Ed, is that I'm not in the studio. This has been quite a production. However, the show goes on, and let's see here. Okay, so Ed has the studio. Ed, do we have any closing music that we can play? I can. Okay, I see. He can hear me, but I just can't hear him. But it's been a wonderful time, and I've appreciated speaking with you guys, and also listening to Ed earlier this evening. And great, I think that's a great idea, Ed. So whenever, let's say here in the next, no worries. Ed's sorry that he had to drop off. His connection is poor. Mine is poor too. But I want everybody to join us. Ed, I want to put the invite out to you too on Friday. I want you to call in, Hive Mind Show at 8 o'clock. Excellent. Ed will be there. I want all my good friends in the chat to be there this Friday at 8 p.m. And it's going to be an excellent show. And I thank you guys for tuning in to the new Antimatter Broadcasting Network, because it's wonderful to be part of a family. We're all working together on Blog Talk. So this is the finale of the show. Ed's lighting up the music as we speak. And look for us again this Friday. Hive Mind 1984, chemtrail UFOs will be the topic. And so we will hash out the UFO question and how does it relate to chemtrails. And there'll be some...
The question of how and why the United Nations is the crux of the great conspiracy to destroy the sovereignty of the United States and the enslavement of the American people within a UN one-world dictatorship is a complete and unknown mystery to the vast majority of the American people. The reason for this unawareness of the frightening danger to our country and to the entire free world is simple. The masterminds behind this great conspiracy have absolute control of all of our mass communications media, especially television, the radio, the press, and Hollywood. We all know that our State Department, the Pentagon, and the White House have brazenly proclaimed that they have the right and the power to manage the news, to tell us not the truth, but what they want us to believe. They have seized that power on orders from their masters of the great conspiracy. And the objective is to brainwash the people into accepting the phony peace state, to transform the United States into an enslaved unit of the United Nations one world government.
You're listening to Black Helicopter Radio on the Antimatter Zone Radio Network. Now, here's your host, Ed Walker. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Black Helicopter Radio. My name's Ed Walker from the YouTube channel Dark Ecstasy World. It's been a while. I did one episode not too long ago. I guess that was around a month ago, called Transformation of a Nation, about things you could do to try to improve your health and therefore improve your life. It's a topic I never really delved into before. The episode tonight is called Black Helicopter Radio, Conspiritainment and Illuminati Fad. I mentioned it's Brad Meltzer's Decoded, which this show, it's really a horrible show, to be honest. But the topics vary from things like, I'll just list off some of the episodes here. Like, there's one about the White House, and it talks about a mysterious White House cornerstone, which was laid by the Freemasons. It talks about secret presidential codes, and it talks about, let's see, it also says Confederate gold. I'm just reading off the episodes now. They're not all completely conspiracy-oriented, but the majority of them are. It talks about D.B. Cooper. It talks about 2012. It talks about the President's Inner Circle. And it talks about, it talks about, the Georgia Guidestones. That's the one I really want to talk about. The Georgia Guidestones one was very strange, because that's something, if any of you don't know, you probably all know what that is by now, but if you don't, it's this big monument in Elberton, Georgia, which has these strange kind of occultic 10 Commandments, I guess you could call it. And it was written by a mysterious individual named R.C. Christian, which people believe is a reference to Rosicrucian, that kind of mystery school order that Bill Cooper talks about. And basically that show is very strange, because first off, they talk to some Rosicrucians in it, and then they spend time almost trying to spin the Georgia Guidestones as this kind of positive thing, and trying to make it seem like that it's so great that we should follow the Georgia Guidestones. It does kind of mince at the one Georgia Guidestone that says maintain the population under, I believe it's 500,000, if I'm not mistaken, or let's see, Maintain, 500 million, that's right. Yeah, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. It says guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity, unite humanity with a living new language, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason, protects people and nations with fair laws and just courts, let all nations rule, internally resolving, I'm just reading these off to you so if you don't know what it is, what they advocate. Let all nations rule, internally resolving external disputes in a world court, avoid petty laws and useless officials, balance personal rights with social duties, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite, be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature. And so yeah, it goes in all these, and it's really strange. It's almost like they're advocating it, which would make sense if the people who own the media are occultists. So that show, and then the 2012 thing's been mainstream for a long time now. But yeah, they do go into that with predictions from Nostradamus. There's one episode it's called the Secret Societies episode, which has Alex Jones in it, which is strange. I used to be I think like most of us, a lot of us were listeners to him back when we were first waking up. I've since kind of do my, listen to various other people, but anyways, yeah, he's in it, and he takes them to the Bohemian Grove, and it's just all these things that used to be, kind of you'd have to find them out on the internet or maybe in some obscure books. They're just putting it out there, and it's really strange. So let me go into the next show that I mentioned was Ancient Aliens, which is a little bit more new agey about UFOs, and that whole thing has it's basically like the book The Chariots of the Gods, which is a book that came out advocating this whole ancient astronauts theory, and that they helped us build the pyramids and all these fantastic works that mankind has made. Okay, pretty much to sum up Ancient Aliens, all it does is it takes all of the kind of either religious or just mysterious things in the past, like the pyramids in Egypt, and then basically says, what if aliens did it? It's actually kind of silly if you think about it. That's pretty much sums up the whole show. If you've never seen it, that's all they take. Anything from the Bible or other religious texts. Video at my YouTube channel, Dark Ecstasy World, called "War with Iran Has Begun," and I titled it that to get people's attention, but it actually is fairly accurate because it's pretty clear there is a covert war going against Iran in regards to Iranian nuclear scientists being assassinated. Open talks here in the U.S. with presidential candidates like Newt Gingrich openly advocating that. I mean, just right in your face. And I'll also give out the call-out number. It's area code 347-327-9865. Area code 347-327-9865. So, like I already mentioned, the title of the show is Black Helicopter Radio, Conspiritainment, and Illuminati Fads, and I'm going to be talking about the fact that this stuff's getting so mainstream and popular. A lot of the topics we've talked about, that it really makes me kind of wonder, because I mean it's clear knowledge that the mainstream media, all the big corporate-owned media, is clearly it's not a reliable source of information. Basically, it's all propaganda. You can listen to some of the past shows I've done on Edward Bernays and propaganda. It's all public relations, manipulation, and lies, basically. So it's very strange when this information that used to be considered quite fringe and quite out there would now be getting more and more mainstream. So shows I'm talking about are Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. I'm going to be talking about Ancient Aliens. I'm going to be talking about Brad Metzer's Decoded. And I'm going to be talking about just various different shows on the History Channel. All right, so the first show that I mentioned, or one of the first events, and it's about the fact that all this stuff that I've been researching, and probably most of you have been researching, and you know, what the mainstream calls conspiracy theories. It's not my term, but people know what I'm talking about when I use that term. How we've been studying this stuff for years, and now it's getting more and more mainstream attention to a point it keeps growing. I mean, the amount of shows, the amount of music videos and everything that you can imagine is just growing exponentially. So let me just read a quick description of it so I give you a better idea of what I'm going to be talking about. And just 1 second. Okay, so here is the description of the show. Ed Walker goes into the idea of what are real dark agendas / conspiracies and what is simply conspiracy theory, or what Ed refers to as conspiritainment. Why are theories about the Masons, Illuminati, ancient aliens, the occult becoming so mainstream? Is it simply for entertainment, or is there a more sinister agenda at play? Are any of these ideas about the Illuminati really a threat to the corrupt establishment, or is it childish fairy tales? Ed will be working to flesh this out and get to the bottom of this odd trend of so-called conspiracy theories going mainstream. So that's what today's show is about. I think I'll delve into that in a second, but since I haven't done a show in such a long time, I do want to first start out just with some news items that, had I been doing a show regularly, things that I would have gone into, because I have more than enough time to flesh this out today. So I'm going to talk about a few things right before I get into the main topic of today's show. So the first thing that I want to bring up is this whole Iran war, and how it's just, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say for sure what's going to happen in the future, but it just seems more and more likely. It's not really a matter of if there will be a war with Iran, just a matter of when. And I think even, you know, more mainstream analysts and most people would probably agree with that statement. That's not too far out there at all. There already is a covert war going against Iran involving the CIA and the Mossad. I made a